So many moving parts. All right, this is Dreamland by me, Fox Stevenson, and it was a mixed down nightmare.
With extra time, I'd like to think I would have done this better. The fact that I could ever fail never crossed my mind. Somewhere out there, hear my demons screaming now or never. I think I just crossed that line. Yeah. I'm kinda done with hanging out in ball service. You confuse me, yeah, you use me, but that's just as well. Hungry people trying to break me make me kinda nervous. Just goes to show that you never can tell. Does everybody live in a dreamland? Is this dreamland all that we know? Swallowing us up in an avalanche and blurring these lines with smoke. They tell me that
it's distorting, my bad.
The only thing that I know is that I'll find my way out of this wasteland, 'cause this wasteland ain't home. With extra time I could have made up better words and letters. Pale shadows of my heroes help me rule the night. Somewhere out there hear my people screaming do it better. I'm just an echo of the things I like. I'm tired of never feeling like I'll serve a purpose. Snow on mirrors, future killers, yeah, just be yourselves. Hungry people.
Soothe on the Master is viable. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise.
Does everybody live in a dreamland? Is this dreamland all that we know? Swallowing us up in an avalanche and blurring these lines with smoke. They tell me that I should be a real man, but the only thing that I know is that I'll find my way out of this wasteland, 'cause this wasteland ain't home.
I'll skip this bit because it's a repeat of earlier.
If I don't believe in all the old gods or the new, how am I supposed to find
It differs because even after like a final mix project, I'll often
words for something
separate the instrumental from the vocals.
and living to fight another day?
Yeah, sorry about the redlining shit.
Okay, we're falling from on top of the tree house and no one cares if we
Hey man, how's it going?
I stumble over to a policeman. He says, son, you better get back home. And everybody's laughing at me now, from their faces covered in snow. I'm trying to be the best I can be now. They say make it something we know.
Oh, also, this is possibly the most tidy project file of mine of all time. Usually, like you'll see in the next one, it's chaotic.
Been an avalanche and blurring these lines with smoke. They tell me that I should be a real man, but my pride will be the first thing to go. I gotta get out of this wasteland, 'cause this wasteland ain't home.
So yeah, I think this got crushed more in the master just to be a bit more. And this is basically the same except with bigger harmonies. All right, let's get talking about it then, because this is all kind of just normal stuff. There's just like a little guitar on the fade out at the end. Yeah, a little pendulum vibes for sure. I think my music's a bit more smiley, generally. So initially, this track started a lot heavier. It started off with the bass sounds and like some quite heavy drums. What I do have down here are the original live synths. Up there, up top, is a lot of audio. I find bouncing everything down to audio and then putting everything kind of like just in its place. And once it's audio, you kind of, at least for me, my mindset about the sound completely changes. It no longer is something that is malleable. It's that. You live with that or you delete it. Or you can cut out of it. I don't know. I always find I'm making better decisions on things when it's completely like audio. So like most of this track isn't like super inspiring.
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
Inspiring sound design. Like this is two weird bass sounds that kind of like kind of simple. Like it's just some serum stuff, like some. Here, I'll take it down. To be honest, this is over the top. I actually made something kind of similar to this track today, and it was just like a normal patch with just some like sub and something weird and some unison all just crunched together, and you can get the same effect. You don't need to do all of this and this. It's that was totally over the top. So it's that, which it sounds terrible, and then like EQ'd and stuff. But if there's anything anyone wants to like ask me about on this track in particular, like there's a lot to get into, and I'll do my best to get into it. That's really doing a lot of work. Is there something heavy? I don't usually use Logic's built-in EQ, but it's on this one. Wow, 13 dB of reduction in the high mids. That's why it sounds like it does. All right, so you know what? Let's not worry about the bass sounds and those things, because unless anybody wants to get into that completely, like generally the sound design choices for these bass sounds were really simple. It's like a sine wave being quite loud, and then anything kind of like on the sides, make sure it's being low cut. Like you'll see, actually that's a really cool tip. You'll see here, this is a saw wave without its fundamental, so you're just kind of getting the harmonics and the kind of movement everywhere but the sub, and that's important. Yeah, guys, ask as many questions as you like. I'd rather be led around this project by you, because you know I could tell you all the things that come to mind for me, but it might not be as useful to you as if you just ask me what you need to know, and I'm happy to lay it all out there bare. 16 voices. Yeah, that is excessive. I agree. I mean, the vocals in my process. Yeah, let's start there. That's a good one. The let's get that out of there. So let's just deactivate all of those. So in the final mix version, what I usually do is I'll just bounce the vocals down and maybe make slight EQ differences between the sections. But how did I approach the lyrics and the vocals? That's a hard one. My lyrics, what usually happens is I get led around a verse or something like so. So what existed first was just something along the lines of this. It was a lot heavier at the time. Like when I first made it, it was more angry, but like. And the way I usually come up with my vocals is I'll like sing at my laptop, because it makes a good like bounce back sort of thing, and it like then you can hear your voice and how it sounds, because like the speakers are there and everything's. Yeah, it's a nice little environment for that. But the actual processing of the technical thing of the vocals. So this is a biggie. So simple enough on the verses, because it's supposed to sound like just one, and so that's this vocal here. There's a plugin missing, but I'm pretty sure I was only using it for reverb. For someone who's never made drum and bass, where do you start? Drums. You want to get drums that sound like they're one thing. That's one thing a lot of people make the mistake of. So they'll get a good kick and a good snare, and they'll be kind of too far apart in terms of their general sound profile. And you want a little bit of realness in there, like crunch, like a vintagey thing. So on the actual vocals themselves, we have.
I'm kind of done with hanging out in bottle service.
So that's just like dry. So EQ, I don't know why I've taken top out. I usually don't do that. I think it's because it's hitting the Logic multi-compressor. I would normally use FabFilter multiband down for that. Let's say you have good lyrics, but you're stumped for the melody. What's a good way of getting inspiration and coming up with a vocal that isn't cringy? I would honestly, the best way I find of writing any kind of melody, and actually I saw Skrillex say this in his stream the other day. Sing your melodies. The best melodies are the ones that just come naturally and just exist, coming forth from you. I genuinely, I will stand by that. All of the best melodies, you hear them, and then they kind of just exist. They don't exist on the keyboard first. They exist in you first. That's the best way. I see your question about the basses. I'll get to those in a little bit. I actually did some stuff to those later down the line. When I'm multi-band compressing a bass, what are you listening for while you're setting the attack and release of each band? I've tried to riff together in the middle. Okay, so when it comes to multi-banding stuff, I generally like, when it comes to compression, I either want something to sound compressed or I want something not sound compressed. And so, and that sounds really simplistic, but when you're putting a compressor on, you're either doing it to fix a problem or to create a feature. And you have to know that before you put it on. So doing things with intention like that is super, super important. And so when I'm multi-band compressing something, anything, when I'm listening to the band, I'm listening to the band as if I'm soloing the band and listening to it as if it's just as if it's the whole sound just soloed, which it is. And I want it to sound correct like that. So I need it to sound better in just that band first. And then I'm just making each band sound better. And usually I'm just going for a crushing sound. And so I usually like a little slow attack and quite a slow release. But yeah. On the vocals, so yeah, generally these are pretty simple. It's just a bit of top end off. Multi-band the tops, I always do that. You know what? I'm going to do that manually now. I'm sure a lot of you have Pro MB. One thing that I think sounds great on vocals, and it always makes something sound really radio friendly, is if you crush the tops. You're both de-essing and bringing out the breath at the same time. So if you listen to this, let me turn that compressor off. I can't believe how many stock plugins were on these vocals. That's crazy.
I'm kind of done with hanging out in
So if you like, and for this thing, we don't want it to sound compressed. We just want it to sound leveled. So slow attack, fast attack, fast release.
Goes to show that you never can tell.
Like, this is over the top, but
Kind of done with hanging out in bottle service. You confuse me, yeah, you use me.
you see how you suddenly have like this is bringing out loads of artifacts and shit, but
Kind of nervous, just goes to show that you never can tell.
you see how kind of like shiny it makes things sound. Like that's generally, I'll do that to a degree on pretty much every vocal I use.
I'm kind of done with
The distortion is pretty much what brings this out. Without the distortion, this sounds kind of bad.
I'm kind of done with hanging out in
It just sounds compressed. Doubles, and this is just in the verses.
I'm kind of done with hanging out in bottle service. You confuse me, yeah,
And then they're just hard panned either way and compressed really heavily so they don't jump in and out. And then then you get onto the meat and potatoes of the vocals, which is all of this.
Does everybody live in a dreamland? Is this dreamland all that we know? Swallowing us up in an avalanche and blurring these lines with smoke.
Right. Let's break this down. So first things first, you need a strong, good vocal in the middle, dry enough that it's not going to get washed out by any reverbs that you do end up using. And that sits nice and happy in the middle, nice and loud. So that's this one.
Does everybody live in a dreamland? Is this dreamland all that we know?
The doubles aren't detuned, but they're not it depends on the track completely. But how tuned your main vocal is a good one. If I've got quite a lazy tuned vocal or not tuned vocal at all, then generally I'll hard tune the doubles because they're two different takes. And that's important. Because they're two different takes, there will be differences between the two of them. And so that the difference in each ear is a nice thing. And then you've got a unifying element in the middle and then they share them. You need your singer or yourself to be consistent and be really rhythmically on it for each one. So like if I get the doubles out for this, I think there are two doubles here. I think we've got four. Let me double check here. That's a harmony. Never mind. So we got that. Like you can actually hear that there's some like nasty out tune stuff.
Everybody live in a dreamland. Is this dreamland?
And these are pretty subtle. You could probably afford, if you weren't doing so many other things, you could bring them up.
Blurring these lines with smoke.
And that's if we weren't going to be adding so many harmonies. No, it wasn't a high-end automation. No, it was just a Fab Filter multiband, just crushing the top. The guitars. I'll come to those. Do I recommend hard panning left or right? Or I think it depends on the element. Generally, I don't pan things that are singular, if you know what I mean. So here, because we've got duplicate vocals, we've got different vocal takes that are exactly the same performance. Well, not the same performance. Sorry, the same thing performed at different times, or performed more than once. Those differences will be more pronounced if they are stereo. And and that really works. Hard panning. The mono signal ends up just being this vocal, like this main one, and that keeps everything like grounded. Because if I did take this out, it would just be too much. So what else we got here? We've got exactly the same take as the main take, pitched up, formatted up, and then chorused. I like this one because it's got that kind of vintagey sound, and that's like, just, and so that puts that a little stereo too. Yeah, I'll show you guys how we wrote the drums too. Then we've got vocoders, which I think are here. I think we've got 3 different vocoders. Yeah. And then we've got one vocoder that hits only on the word dreamland. So like that accents that, and I don't know if it's something that really shows through in the final mix, but it's, yeah. We also, which a lot of people don't know about this, the album that this was on, is we've got Hannah Trigwell, friend of ours. So getting a different vocalist in there to do harmonies is really great because you end up with very different vocal tones, and then they kind of fill in different spots in the full spectrum. And then there's a lower harmony. So if you play that with the main one, this is probably one of the loudest layers.
Does everybody live in a dreamland? Is this dreamland all that we know? Swallowing us up in an avalanche.
And that's what Buster sings live when he does it live. In terms of processing my vocals, generally what I'll do is I'll just EQ it till it sounds nice, crush the tops. EQ it till it sounds right, compress full spectrum, and then crush the tops with a multiband, and then think about distortions or delays or anything like that. But that at that point you start tailoring it to the song. The vocoders, what am I using for the vocoders? So this one is Manipulator, which is by who is that by? Infected Mushroom. I can't remember who it is, but yeah, they did like a thing. And what this is it's not actually I think I just initialized that. Did I initialize that? Yeah, I did. Let's undo that. So it's not actually a vocoder. It's actually it's like a pitch correction or like an auto tune, but the note you play in the MIDI, because this is MIDI and it's just doing this, simple enough. It forces the vocal to whichever notes you play, and it's polyphonic. So like if we wanted to, is this working right now? I could just like play a nasty chord here. Does everybody live in a dreamland? It just like forces it onto those notes, and it's really transparent. And this one is also a manipulator. The other one up here is MDA, which is I think a discontinued plugin, an MDA talkbox. And I think I'm using a pad and the guitar line. Yeah, you can hear it picking, and that's what it is. In terms of EQing my vocals, what I end up doing usually is just making them sound as good as I can, and then EQing everything else around it. Because you don't really want to force your vocals into being an unnatural tone, unless that's like a marked decision. You want something to sound weird. That's totally okay too. But I would say the best way to EQ vocals is to make them sound as awesome as they can, but also as convincing as they can. The reason that this is such an organized project is I usually do big vocal things like this in a different project with just the guitar or just some chords and like really minimal drums, like not even like the full track, and just get it to have as much soul and heart as possible. And then when you bring it into this, like you're mixing around the vocal, especially on a track like this where it's led by the vocal. It's really important in my opinion to treat your vocals with that kind of respect. Yeah, but like on the other hand, I will say if you completely destroy a vocal and do loads of really mental stuff to it, and then like use that as like as a point to make in your track. That's also cool, you know. So in that case, I would just EQ it as aggressively as I can until it sounds mental. I hope that helps. Mental illness, right? It's a weird one. Like a lot of my I guess lyrical inspiration is about self-doubt, but that's just tapping into the things that are my fears. I tend to sing about my fears, generally speaking. I was actually talking about this line today. There's a line in the second verse. Where is it?
People screaming, do it better. I'm just an echo of the things I like.
I'm just an echo of the things I like. I was just talking about like how generally everyone's just curating the things that have influenced them musically and just bringing them to the table with their own music and just being a consortium or like an amalgam of the things that that they liked. What is the most instrumental elements that you would want surrounding my vocal? I like a good guitar. I do like a good distorted guitar. The guitars on this track sound sick too. Like I can't take credit for that. I'm not just bigging myself up. We used a studio, and they amped up all the guitars and kind of got the tones for us. Let me take the side chains off. That's all. No. Right, so in terms of takes for the vocals, I find that I do. Sorry, I closed the thing, and yeah, there we go. Okay, in terms of takes for the vocals, stop. In terms of the takes for the vocals, I do quite a lot sometimes. This one was a huge one, especially because I can't get that grit on my voice that's in this track that consistently. We did like a good 16, and then we did what's called comping. And if you haven't done that, that's basically where you have layers upon layers of the same vocal, and you just choose like little sentences or words or even just like phrases. And then you kind of create the ultimate vocal take out of all the best parts of each of them. And that's definitely what we did here. It's not hey, Vox tones, yeah, oh wait, does it say it? No, it doesn't. It is a Vox though. Good ear. Is that Buster? No, it's not. It's a guy called Rob Slater. He's in a band nearby. We recorded this before Buster was actually full time with us. He's always been my friend, but like he wasn't. Yeah. And Rob's an amazing guitarist. So like his feel is amazing. So cool little thing. I don't know how many of you guys are doing stuff that's going to have a lot of elements plus a vocal with this many harmonies on top. But one of the things that makes this mix work is, let me just turn these side chains back on. So yeah, we all know side chaining exists, but in this chorus, these guitars all get pushed out from like 1K to I guess 6K whenever the vocal's on. So if you have a look at this. Oh wait, why is it not doing that? Audio 41? What's going on? Well, that doesn't seem to be working, but you can take my word for it. There's like having like a little thing here that side chains to the. Yeah, okay. Actually, it's just let me reset this. This is an old project file, so things seem to have gone wrong. Let me just what is it? 108? Yeah. Audio 108. So that's the chorus vocal channel. And if you hear the effect that this is having on the guitars, it softens them out for when the vocal comes in, so that you get the parts of the vocal that are up there, and that area is like the area where you get the changing, I guess, formants for your thing. in terms of playing an instrument, that's I wouldn't say controversial. I'd say it's indispensable. It's a source of inspiration. I wouldn't say you have to be able to play a piece of music. You'd have to be able to play guitar or piano or anything, but you're selling yourself short if you're not. Like, you could be amazing at manipulating one note by being amazing at Logic or Ableton or Cubase or whatever, or you could be really amazing at bringing out lots of notes by having the knowledge to be able to explore an instrument. You don't even have to be good. This is the thing, is I'm terrible at guitar, but I'll record some and like manipulate it until it sounds cool. And it might not even be cool because it was played well. It might be cool because it was played badly. You just need to be able to follow the trail of inspiration. And yeah, that guitar tone is kind of unobtainable to me. I can't recreate it because it was done on like a beautiful like 1980s Japanese Telecaster coming through a 1950s or 1970s Vox amp. And it was just like, I can't do this at home. How do I do a final mix down on so many channels to prepare for a final master? Just one channel at a time, man. Like this process was like a case of getting all the elements that matter most. There were quite a lot of elements cut out from this track that aren't missed, basically. One thing that I did do, one guy asked me about the bass earlier, and I will go into that now. Is I took that bass sound, and it was so lively because of all the unisons, and because it was 16 unisons. So I actually just sliced it up and did this. So that's just looping. All those dark ones are just loops for any Ableton heads. Let me get rid of that sidechain. So just made it a lot less featureful. So boring sounding, but rhythmic, and it sits in the background and it works. One big tip for everybody out there is to sidechain multi-band ways. I'll talk about why that was there in a second. But this is being sidechained differently for its highs and lows. So the highs are being sidechained by a ghost channel, as you would expect, but the lows are only being sidechained by the kick lows. And the reason for that is if you think about the way that a kick sounds, like generally, it's like a full spectrum click and then low end for a given amount of time. The kick in this track, for example, sounds like this. Like you don't need a lot of room for that, especially like if you get rid of that. You don't need all of your you don't need to hold your bass out for like these parts at the beginning where it's just mids. Like if I just loop that, that's all mid. Your sub doesn't care about that. So why sidechain your sub out when your kick only has mid? And the answer is I don't, personally. I will just sidechain to the lows of the kick. And that way you're only creating space for what needs to replace things. The way that I would go around that, the easy way to do that is you literally, so this is audio 20. And you just set, wow, I'm getting lost in this massive project file. All right. No. Where are you? Oh yeah, bass. Here we go. So the way I go about that is I would sidechain this to audio 20. Like I think because I put things into folders so I could show you guys where everything is, it's kind of rerouted all of the sidechaining, but that doesn't matter. So this is only sidechaining to its band. So only when the kick comes into the area that this exists, only when the kick sounds in this area of like 200 and below, is it going to push the sub out. Does that make sense? I feel like I explained that really around the houses. The reason that you do it is there's pretty much when your kick hits, it's only mid. So you only want to sidechain out the lows once it actually sweeps down into the lows. Save yourself losing low end for basically no reason. So this is like super wide open. Actually, this is a cool trick. Nothing really has reverb in this section apart from that one element. Are these synths running live? No, they're not. This one element is the only thing with reverb. If I take that out, Oh, there's also like a sort of sound, but let me find that. Basically, not all the time, but one really cool way to mix down a track can be to have things just be completely dry apart from one element that just sits and kind of creates the space for everything else.
I'm kinda done with
Super dry.
You confuse me, yeah, you use me, but that's just as well.
Like, nothing going on. Do I do the reverse for snares? Snares end up generally being more of just like a what's the word? A subjective choice, because one thing that I do, which I do kind of recommend because it works really well, is I just ram my snares way through my master, like louder than everything else, and they just collapse the whole track just for the small amount of time that they exist. But that's because I have really short fundamentals on my snares. That's actually one thing you can do. Where are you? Let's get this snare out. Nope, that's not the snare. Is it this one? Oh, gee, Dreamland snares. So I think I've already done it to this snare. That's a real shame. One thing you can do, and we might be able to recreate it here, is you get your snare fundamental, and this creates loads of low mid space for everything else. Is you compress the low end of your snare really hard with a slowish attack. So let's just really quickly do this. So you see that? You can choose how much fundamental you want. Like, this isn't quite right for this track, but you could throw this through a limiter really hard, and you get snappy ass low ends. Madness. Really cool trick. Like, it already kind of sounds like that, but you get a lot more out of it. It probably sounds kind of cool in the mix, or it might be too loud, but you know. If that was limiting, then you'd actually end up with like this sort of suction, which is always nice. Or you could throw it into a clipper or a sausage fattener, and you end up with like, oh, instead of, right? Anyway, I digress. I haven't been looking at the chat as much as I wanted to. Are there any more questions about this track? Because I know we have to move on to the other one in about 10 minutes. And I feel like we haven't approached that many of the things that are actually here. Is there anything that people want to ask me about this track in particular? Because I do a lot of those tricks in the other track too, so we don't need to worry about going over those. I can show you those in a much more live running project. On the next project, we'll also get into oscilloscopes a little bit too, because that's always good. Going on tour with Pendulum sounds great. I don't think they're doing live anymore though, and I'm kind of up for going live a lot more. Is there anything really cool in here that might be? It's such a simple. Can we hear the full vocal stack on the last chorus? Yeah, of course you can. I was hoping someone would ask. I'll be completely honest. It's madness. Let's right. So that's here. Let's turn it back on. So, nope. Things sound a bit weird right now. I think I ruined the snare. But let me press play on this while I fix the snare. Whoa, hello? Weird.
Does everybody live in a dreamland? Is this dream
Where's that vocoder? There it is.
Swallowing us up in an avalanche and blurring these lines with smoke. They tell me that I should be a real man, but the only thing that I know is that I'll find my way out of this wasteland, 'cause this wasteland ain't... Oh.
All that. Yeah, yeah, okay, so the dichotomy with the lead and the guitar sound. So the guitars are just so full spectrum and so messy in the mids that you have to do a lot to make them play nice with anything that's like as even as a synthesized sound. Real quick, I did see someone asking about the about the lead sound, and I'm assuming they meant this one. And I feel like we didn't do much like sound design knee sort of stuff here, so let's quickly go into that. I think that's here. No. Sorry, there's the like I've bypassed a load of stuff whilst being in here, so it's a bit weird in places now. Right, let me just delete these so I don't turn them back on by accident. So I'm pretty sure this is just a trick of moving around an EQ into ensemble. Or is it sync? No, it's just wow, it's as simple as that. So it's just saws, bit unison, formant filter, and now the thing that makes it sound like it does is the ensemble. When you have things like this with so much EQ going on, and you're distorting it, when you distort it, it always ends up just being a little bit plain. If you chorus pre-distortion and then like treat it correctly afterwards, you get all this fuzz. You get all this fuzz from doing choruses or flanges or stuff pre-distortion, and that really helps. Main bass is in the heat. There's a guy who breaks that down. Like, he comes pretty close too. There's a guy on YouTube who did that. The heat was really simple, actually. The heat was just like a classic drum and bass resound. So it was like detuned saws again, loads of low end distorted. But the difference this time is I did a low note and a really high note, and that's all it is. It's just the high note distorting through. You'll see actually a bit more of that on the next track, but we still have some time on Dreamland. Is there anything else people would want me to go into on this one? I feel like we're only just in the tip of the iceberg. Wait, someone asked about drums. Let's quickly go there. So the drums on this track are quite expansive. So there's real layers and there's non-real layers. So this is the real stuff. I mean, no, this is the what's the word? The sequenced. The element I'm most proud of in this track, and why, I think it's just the way the guitars mix with everything, to be honest. The way the guitars sit with everything was the thing that and these guys won't mind me saying this, that I spent studio sessions with the Noisier guys and studio sessions with Virtual Riot where we would just nerd out and try and work out how to mix these elements together. And there's like literally there's a Virtual Riot mix down to this song, there's a Nick from Noisier mix down to this song, and like each time the guitars just sound different. You want to hear the old drums? The old drums from the original. I'll pull that up right at the end if you like, if I can find it. And so this is the real layers. This is like actually like played. Yeah. I'm sure me and Val will do a collaboration at some point. There's stuff that we've made together that exists in our hard drives, but we've never really made something that's been like, oh yeah, this is our collaboration. Because I feel like there'd be a lot of expectation if people saw his name and my name somewhere. They'd expect like some particular stuff. Pretty simple bass sound. I think this is layered actually. Yeah, it is. Cool little tip if you're finding that you need like warmth in your low end is you can get so what this was this was a sync windowed sine wave, and then I printed the modulation. What is it? Render warp, and then get rid of the fundamental, and then you can just do this. I'll turn that up a bit. So that's quite stereo low mids, which you're not really supposed to do. But there's absolutely no fundamental in it, so it won't touch your low end at all, like your actual low end. Do I usually use aux tracks for the wet reverbs, wet effects like delay and reverb? I think it depends on the sound. If it's like wet for mix, then yes. If it's wet like a delay that's like percussive or like rhythmic, then no. That's part of the sound design. I think that's how I separate it usually. How did I get on Disciple? They asked me when they opened up the label, and I said no. I think that might be what happened. It's so long ago. It was just something like I'd spoken to those guys for ages, and we'd been friends and stuff, and they respected me and I respected them, and it was just like a mutual thing. Especially after I had a falling out with Firepower. Well, I had a falling out with Datzig, but we won't talk about that. Is that what about the low end thing? I'll quickly go through that just so you guys can so I'm making sure. This is a really cool trick. So if you do this, get somewhere it sounds nice. You know, find somewhere it sounds cool. So that sounds cool. So forget about the unisons for a second. You can just render oscillator array warp. Oh yeah, it does that anyway, doesn't it? It does all that. And then what you can do is you can remove the fundamental. So what that means is that it's not got the sine wave in it. So that doesn't have the...
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
The bottom, yeah, the bottom harmonic, I guess. And so you can just stick that over a sub. Why is that not making any? Oh, this is EQ'd, or is it? Oh, it's just really loud. Weird. Anyway, not the point. Not the point right now. It's multiple times. Oh yeah, that tour was fun. I had a good time on that tour. Do I have set levels that I mix things for normally? Example, mixing drums and set. No, I think that's prescriptive personally. Yeah, I think that's prescriptive just because every track's different. And like, unless you're trying to work uniformity into your music, which I personally am not. I think that's really, really important. In what situation am I using this mid-low trick? So this track in particular, the way it works is like, oh man, everything. I can't remember which things I turned off and which things I turned on. Nightmare. Oh wait. The real sound. The live synths on. What's happening? Yeah, they are. There we go. So the low mids in this track were a bit boring, like you can hear that. And when you bring this in, just kind of gives it that rumble. Do you have any chance that project file was mostly them. Like I made the first drop, they made the second drop. That's kind of how that track went. The trick that I did for that sound in that is actually the trick that I did on Peace of Mind, which is what we're doing next. What I've been asked to do next. Yeah, but I had a falling out with Datzig before it was cool. Yeah, I am up at 3:43 a.m. But whatever, you know. What else was I gonna do? Sleep? Do I gain stage my groups or channels or wait till the end to mix? I mean, like I mix as I go, but what I try not, it depends on your overall goals musically. But for me, because writing and making melodies and writing a song is really important for the music I want to make, I can't spend too long mixing. And when I do, I make bad music. So I need to do it snappy and quick. And then once everything's in place, then I'm like, all right, the song exists. Let's turn things into audio. Let's really think about gain staging these groups and making sure that nothing's going a bit wrong, because the vibe's there and everything's good. And I genuinely think that most music is made best when it's made like that. I always struggle to push the arrangement of a track beyond the initial build-up and drop. Oh, man, I'm exactly the same, to be honest, Sam. How do I approach post-drop arrangement? I don't know, man. For me, it either tells me that it wants to be longer than a minute long or it doesn't. And then when it doesn't, I just make more music, make other music, and use and make sure I've exported it and that it's somewhere I can listen to it easily, because maybe one day you'll hear it and be like, oh, that's exactly what it needs. But to be honest, I can't help you with that one, because I have exactly the same problem. Yes, I mix with limiters when I'm making the track, but generally when it comes to mixing at the end, it depends on the track. If it's a really aggressive track, which this one wasn't, I'll put a limiter on, and then I'll have all my main elements that aren't drums just kind of sitting clean on the limiter, and then smash my drums through them. That's a really cool way to do things, because as the drums go, as the drums break the ceiling or the threshold of the limiter, then the limiter obviously has to force them back into line at 0 dB. But the way it does that is by reducing the volume, and then it's also reducing the volume of everything else. So it becomes a second layer of side chaining. So you can intentionally overgain the transient or the punch of the kick or snare, just so you can get that ramming everything out of the mix for just a small amount of time. And that's really fun. Like, you can get crazy stuff out of that. It's how a lot of hip hop guys produce by accident. How long on average? It varies so heavily for me, generally. Yeah. Can I accept your friend's request? I'm sure I can. I've got like a billion at the moment. I'm really bad for checking it. I don't use Facebook a huge amount for Facebooking, if you know what I mean. Do I use a hard limiter? Yeah, really hard limiter. Like a limiter that's more like a clipper, pretty much. Okay, phase we'll talk about on the next track. Is there anything that anyone's dying to know about Dreamland in particular before we move on to this next one? Because, yeah. Following that, also, I don't know if I've actually done it here, but soothe your guitars. Soothing guitars is the best. Here, here's a before and after on Soothe on this thing. Very important to save your mixes. Soothe. Soothe is good. Soothe is very good. I personally prefer full sharpness on Soothe. Why 168 BPM? Great question. This track needed to not be a really big drum and bass, so totally drum and bass tune. It was 175 when it was first made, and it was Martijn from Noisia, because they co-produced this album with me, who said, you need to make this song slower, and I was like, no, I'm not making this song slower. But once we re-recorded and once we slowed it down and we re-recorded things, it suddenly started breathing, and it felt like it had its own place. I wouldn't recommend it for stuff that you'd expect DJs to be playing out, but if you're making something that's kind of like off drum and bass like that, like I would say this is, then change the tempo. The -9 vari speed. Okay, yes, it's not on. Oh, whoops. Yeah, vari speed's not on. I find myself very often turning on vari speed to mix. So I'll listen to things in slow motion. That snare's hitting so hard now that I put that thing on it. But yeah, that's why I'll just listen to things really slowly, because what it does is it's going to take everything from 0 to 20,000 hertz and squash it in terms of frequency. So you have to work in a smaller space. So once you turn it back on, you've opened up everything. It's a really, really fun trick. I'm a little addicted to it, to be completely honest. The VIP, I hate the VIP. I only play it for shock value in sets. When are the VIPs coming out? I don't know if they will. That's a really good question. None of them are finished. None of the ones that aren't released are finished. And it's like, I kind of want to release more music that's like new and meaningful to me. I've got another one coming out like the beginning of next month, and that one's cool. If your plugin library's tiny, I feel you. There's a lot of really good plugins around at the moment that are on subscription, and I think you could do pretty much everything. You could do pretty much everything with the Kilohertz like monthly thing. That's one that I would recommend. I think it's only like $9 a month, which is $9 a month, of course, but like for the value, it's amazing. I didn't have any idea what I wanted this track to be at first. Like, whilst this next track loads up, because I think we're done with Dreamland. Like we're on a schedule. While we load that up, I want to show you guys. One of the first exports of Dreamland, just so you know how it started. I think it would probably be. Is it this one? 2016. That sounds about right.
With extra time, I'd like to think I would have done this better. The fact that I could ever fail never crossed my mind. Somewhere out there, hear my demons screaming now or never. I think I just crossed that line. I'm kinda done with hanging out in ball service. You confuse me, yeah, you use me, but that's just as well. Hungry people trying to break me make me kinda nervous. Just goes to show that you never can tell.
Weird trip down memory lane. But like, you know, we took that and made a whole song out of it. Just bit a hole in my finger. So here's the next song. This one is a lot more simple. There's a lot less going on. It's a lot more of an aggressive style mixed down, and there's a lot more kind of techie things going on purpose, as opposed to just kind of like careful mixing. Because that's definitely what Dreamland was it's like just making sure that this sits with this, and of course that's sometimes what you have to do. But this is Peace of Mind, and this has a sausage fattener on the limiter. I mean on the master. My project file names are a mess. This vocal's a lot more simple too.
I don't need love, I need peace of mind. Don't need love, I need peace of mind. I've been breaking myself all night. I don't need love, I need peace of mind. I don't need love, I need peace of mind.
I have a feeling that I definitely, for the final master of this, I did separate the drums, bass, and vocal. There's some real drums, some samples. That tends to be how I approach things pretty much every time.
I've been breaking myself all night.
Right, so the rest of the track's just kind of like, it just kind of breaks down to a semi-ambient version of the same thing, drops again, then just kind of goes off into me playing guitar badly. Right, so this track's a lot more simple. Let's start talking about my best friend, oscilloscopes. I monitor pretty much all of my tracks visually. Not when it becomes like not with Dreamland specifically or anything where it's really careful mix work like Dreamland was, but for pretty much everything else, I monitor everything through a limiter. I mean, not through a limiter, through an oscilloscope. The reason being that you can get an idea of gain and how things are reacting to your own limiter with these, and you can also get an idea of phase too. All those things, all these good things. So let's have a look at how the track looks. Wow, it's not as good as it usually is, but whatever. So first thing to talk about this mix down is it's deliberately, the kick and snare are incredibly loud. I'm going to take the volume way down here. Have a listen to how much this track falls apart when I take off this sausage fattener. This sausage fattener could have been anything. It could have been an ozone maximizer. It could have been just a general soft clipper. There's a lot of ways you can approach that. Like I actually don't use sausage fattener for this anymore because I found out it rotates phases a little strangely. But let's turn this down here. Basically, we're crushing this whole track at this, like, about this point here, like along this line, to get everything in line. What cans am I using? The headphones? I mean, like, I've got some KNS, some KRK KNS 6400s, but I've had these for years. I've never been a headphones guy. I've never enjoyed a headphone environment, and I would love that to change, to be honest. So if you have any recommendations, let me know. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what you want. You want it to look like the waveform on Rekordbox or Tractor Pro, and I'll show you exactly why right now. So if I'm just going to take a few steps back, sound design wise. So this sound in particular was made by, let's have a look. To bus 20, right? Yeah. So this sound was made by these two sounds. I'm just going to output this straight. Let me take that off. So that is a sine wave, like a sine sub, and this lead sound distorted together. Simple as that. The reason I do this, and the reason this works and is something that I do quite a lot, is because of where are we? Let me just change some gains. Oh wow, that's really loud. I'm so glad I turned the master down before I did all this. Let's have a look at this. Right. So what this is doing is it's cutting. Wait, that's too quiet. It was about here. What it does is you hear that sort of. It sounds like FM, but it's not. It's kind of like AM, but it's not. What it is it's subtracting the sine wave, the sub, from that melody sound. And so, like, if you were to listen to this really loud, what would happen in your ears is the frequency of the sub would actually happen psychoacoustically. Like if I turn up the sub loads, this is completely low cut, but you still know what note is in the sub. I mean, you wouldn't want to distort it that much anyway. And this is, it sounds like a bit of a waste of time, but it's totally not. And the reason being is once I send this back to bus 20 and I'll show you why that's going to a bus in a moment. Once you send this back to bus 20 and we listen to the final sound. Oh. I think I've ruined the sound slightly. I'm just gonna revert to saved real quick. Because I was changing levels before the distortion and stuff, and that's like a big no-no for this kind of sound. But the reason you do this, is a thing that I think I don't know the name for, so I just call it a name I made up, which is vertical phase. And what it means is when you have high end that's obviously synced to your low end because it's coming from the same waveforms and it's rotating as a phasing thing. You can get like stack ups. Like if you think of a saw wave, it's just a series of ticks with the sort of like the sort of sound of a saw wave. If those things were in the wrong place over the phase on the sine wave, if you were to distort it, you would lose all high end. And I can show you that really quick here. And this is something that I think about a lot in production, and it can make a huge difference as to whether your mixdown will fly or not at a later date. So, this is the principle behind this particular bass sound. So let's get a sine wave, pure and simple sine wave, and like a really heavily pulse width saw. Do that. Just make sure they're phasing correct. So the phase of your sounds. The phase of your sounds really matters. So if we look at this here, currently our our ticks are sitting in the zero crossing points of our sine wave, which is great. That's kind of what we're looking for. So if we put, like, for example, a saturation on this, or a limiter or anything. Actually, let's make it a limiter just to kind of prove this point. Like an ozone limiter. I know this seems like a huge digression, but this is at the core of a lot of my sound design and mixed down engineering and things. A lot of guys don't think about this too. So if we limit that there, so that's just sitting under the limiter, nice and healthy. If we change the phase of this just by this much, we end up cutting it in half with the limiter. And we're completely changing the tone of it. Yeah, let's have a look. See that? We'd be cutting our high end in half completely, and then you're losing half of like your track that you're making, and just for phase. So it's something to be really conscious of if you have the time. I missed the chat for a while because I went down a phase hole. How's everyone doing right now? Let's go back to this sound design. Whoa. So if you were to look at this waveform, let's just freeze it. So you see here, these aren't being cut off. This is like the I guess the oscillations or the stack ups or the ticks or whatever you want to call them. They're happening in the zero crossings, and that's because we're distorting things together in a decided way. We're doing it to design a sound that doesn't cause us problems, basically. Like there's many other things to it, and like obviously if something sounds good, that's better than if it does this. But if you can get both, then when it comes to limiting, you won't be destroying your sound at all. You're just going to be limiting it. So this sound in particular, so these all that distorted thing, so the sine wave and the sine wave and the thing, the sine wave sub and the lead, they get distorted together, they get bussed out, and then they're coming into this serum effects. So let's take these effects off. Let's delete the ones we weren't using. Yes. Okay. Serum effects. So I'll have to. Oh, is that automatically going to play? So here's the actual sound pre anything else. So the main feature of this is just this reverb filter. Let's take that. Why does the distorting of them together make the high-end information exist in the zero crossings? Good question. So if you think about it, like I drew this the other day just to show someone. You know, I'll show you guys real quick because it's really easy to set up and kind of demonstrate. Here, so if we get something a little different to this, something that's like, oh wait, yeah, just turn the pulse width off. Do that. I'm just going to like take this up like a few octaves. This might be a little painful for a second. I don't know if it's going to be really loud. No, we're good. So if we have that, and then we distort it. So what happens when we do this? Oh, I froze it, didn't I? So we've got these things here. Let me do this a little low. So ideally what we're doing is we're just trying to cut it here at the top of the sine wave, because you can see it just forces them into there by virtue of just crushing the very top bits of the information, because it's a clipper or a distortion or a limiter. It's just going to start cutting off the top, and that's a very useful tool to abuse, because like if we take the low end out of this, you can hear that low note. No, that's there in that note. And you could move this around. And it stays there. That bass line stays there. That bass note stays there. Or you could move the bass around. It's like AM or FM, but it's a bit different, I guess. Oops. So yeah, that's how that goes, and that's the general principle behind quite a lot of my sound design. Not all, but quite a lot. So that idea gets fed into this, and then I just put a reverb filter on it, and the reverb filter is following this note data. So the note data is like following that low end bass sound. Like you can do a lot with this. Can I resize Serum? I've never tried. No, you can't. That's fine. So if I move this note, like way up here, have a listen. I didn't make as much of a difference as I thought. Sometimes, often it can. Basically, what you'd be doing is you'd be moving the resonances of the reverb filter in a way that completely changes the tone of the sound, because it's such a weird, irregular kind of, it's kind of like a comb but dirtier. Yeah. Do you think that at some point, do you think songs and make wow, damn, old school stuff? I revisit the riff from Insect quite often. I'm sure that'll happen at some point. How do you have those effects routed through Serum effects? So in Logic, you have to do this a specific way, which is really annoying, and I kind of hate the way Logic does this. In Logic, you have to use it as what's called a AU MIDI controlled effect, and basically what that does is it creates a MIDI channel like this, where you put MIDI on it, and then the audio that goes into it comes from a bus or an aux, whatever you want to, bus. In Ableton, what you can do is you can send MIDI directly to a Serum effects in your like rack at the bottom at any point in the chain, and you can just create a MIDI channel and then output it to the Serum effects, and then you can send that node data to a Serum effects, and that's cooler. That's better, but we don't get to do that in Logic. We have to do it, some other way. I only needed to resize Serum just so I could kind of like show the thing at the same time. It's all good. Right. So same principle here with the low end side chain and the high end side chain being different. Whoa, what did I do? Oh yeah, gain reduction. Okay, so the post processing on this is really simple. It's just a really heavy compressor. Gain reduction is kind of like an auto compressor. It's just like mad hard, quite saggy kind of compression. It's like OTT but full spectrum. I don't like OTT because it messes with phases. And this is also layered with these things, just to kind of give it a bit of body. Or a few artists that you can take inspiration from. That I do take inspiration from. To be honest, generally these days, mostly like The Police and like I don't know, like 90s alternative music. Because I don't know, I love dance music for what it is and for groove and stuff, and like that's where I'm informed, I guess, with those things. But generally, when it comes to like actual inspiration, I'll hear an amazing melody from a country artist or maybe a pop thing. The new Hilary Duff single, which is a cover of Third Eye Blind, Never Let You Go. That's really sick. I really like that single. It's really good. The chops and the drop. Yes. What parameter is labeled Slav? I don't see it. It might be an audio, a MIDI slave. I'm not sure. But yeah, the vocal chops and the drop are just me going ha 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 ha. That's all it is. Just like, just pitched up a little. It's as simple as that. there's something missing from it again. Like something's not distorting right. Like I've deconstructed the project file again. I'm sorry. Anything else? Anything else you guys want to know about this one? Like the kick and snare are kind of uninspiring on this one. I was deliberately, my excuse for it, which is not a good excuse, was that I was trying my hardest to make something that only hit at about 100 hertz and then just turned it up really loud. It's just like a simple. And the compressor. Interesting. This one? I don't see anything. I don't know. Was there anything you really struggled with when I was writing this track? No, I had to write this one really fast. They told me that I was on the Alliance compilation like 3 days before I needed to hand it in. So I was just like, okay, make something. Someone was asking about what parts of the drums were real and which parts weren't. So we got, this is real. But it's sliced. That's synthesized. That's convoluted white noise. And then I think that's it. Oh, plus some like little extra layers. No, I don't find it helps to have my kick and snare in tune with my basses. Mostly because I change bass note all the time. Like it changes all the time. So I'd either have to be tuning a load of different kicks and EQing them all differently so they sound like they're the same kick but tuned differently. It's a nightmare. So I just make a kick that sounds good. One thing you do want to be checking, and this is not the best track. Oh, it's because the limiter's not on it. There we go. The limiter saved this track so much. So what you want to be looking for as well when you're sidechaining, this is super important in my opinion, is you don't want to be dropping oscillations between your kick and your sub like that. That's what you're looking out for. You don't want it to do that. Anybody who watches like me talk about this shit all the time, I call it bow tying, and it's literally a dropout. It's a dropout of low end, which you obviously do not want in dance music. How did I mix those drums? Gain reduction, Slay. Yeah, Slay. Pretty sure. Yeah. So how did I mix these drums? Generally, I didn't. I'm pretty sure I didn't mix these drums. I'm pretty sure when it came to these drums, I just threw them as hard as I could into the limiter before they broke up. Because often doing that, wow, that's horrible. I can't believe I settled on that. So, looks like we could probably get away with more, but like you can like crush your kick and snare. Notice again that the fundamental is really short, like the punch is really short. That's a very important way to make your drums like not take up too much space and be able to clip them easily. How do I avoid bow tying? It's a nightmare, but generally it's just a case of changing the length of your release on your sidechain on your kick and sub, like that relationship. Just maybe changing the pitch of your kick slightly, or shortening it, or there's a lot of different ways you can come at it, but you just kind of have to keep playing with it until you end up with something that's just completely flat. The best case scenario is it looks like your kick just never ends, because then everything's just phasing nicely together, and that's a great time. Do I follow the 6 dB rule in mixing, or I mix at 0? The 6 dB rule, just compare from what I've heard from some very, very, very big mastering engineers, is just they give it to people. They tell people not to have things going above 6 dB, just so that they make damn sure that nothing's distorting, that they're not getting a clipped pre-master, which when it comes to a track like this becomes a problem anyway. So yeah, that kick's a bit too loud now, but whatever. But yeah, when it comes to mixing drums, I'll just throw everything as hard as I can into the limiter, and then sidechain so it sounds hype. I'll add one element at a time, make sure it sounds hype with every new addition. Maybe get rid of some of the early elements. Play around until you kind of find your hook in the drums. I know that's a weird thing to say, but like, you'll know it when you hear it. Just keep adding elements, take away elements. Sidechain, I sidechain each element slightly differently because the way that the human brain perceives sound, and the reason we even sidechain is because when you hear a sound that's really loud, it drowns out everything else in your ears because your ears can only hear so much. We have a limiter built into our ears, or a compressor, or whatever you want to call it. So when something pushes something away with a sidechain, it makes it sound further away, and so you're choosing which sounds are up front. Do I limit my pre-master? It depends. It depends if the track needs it. But generally, if I have to do a pre-master for someone else, I'll limit buses that kind of create that effect. Do I do any parallel processing in the mix? Sometimes. Usually what I'll do is I'll multi-band and then like ease off with mix. That's usually what I do. I mean, I've done mad stuff before where I've like distorted the subs on their own just to get like extra harmonics, but that's more of a problem solver than than something you should fall back than something you should know you're going to do, in my opinion. How do the breaks sound for? Do you mean like the? Do you mean like the breaks in the drop or the breaks in the intro? Because the breaks in the intro are literally just like classic breaks. This one over here is just like literally a sliced up, like 70s break, like that. That's not it. What? That should be it. I'm very confused. Oh, it's got rid of it. Weird. Should sound like this. Oh wait, no, it's gone. Whatever. This project file is betraying me. Reverse filter FM. Can I please demonstrate that? Okay, I'll do that right at the end. That's some mad scientist stuff that I was bigging up on stream the other day. Okay. How do the breaks? The entire non-drop parts of the songs. Oh, okay. Yeah. Reverb and EQ generally is a good thing. So you got things holding up each other. And I would actually argue that this track isn't the best for that. Not that. This. I mean, I'm one of the things that I do pride myself on is I do layer up a lot of harmonic content. So for some reason it's got rid of the drum break. I wonder if I can just quickly load that up. Is that in here? No, that's a real shame. That's like a big part of that intro. It was in there before as well. Damn. Okay. So one of the things that makes it sound kind of full here is...
Make your music stand out, get more views, and way more engagement. Bring your music to life. Get Music Visualizer. In every format, even for social media. Get started today. The link is in the description.
Instead of it just being this line, what's my favorite song I've made? Maybe Dreamland, or Lava, which is a song that's coming out later this year. So instead of it just being like na 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 na, I harmonize with it to infer the chords. It just sits in there. You don't really hear that it's there. You just know that something's going on. They just put a saw wave in it, pretty much. And then this is literally just continuing that melody, but you take this away to create it to make it barer. So that's just like arrangement tricks, I guess. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, okay, it was fun to make. We made that one in like the space of a day.
Don't need love, I need peace of mind.
And then the same thing happens over here with those, but with like just slightly more angry synths. I'm pretty sure that's more sync as well. Can I open the MIDI? Sure. So usually the way I make these kinds of things, I'll have something like this that's just super simple. And then the other one will sit close to it, but never overlap. And then the pad's just kind of like, oh. I was using Ableton yesterday. I'm still trying to do some of the same things that it was made. Some of the same things. That's really aggressively low cut. How did this We Don't Play the collab work? I wasn't actually there for that. I just sent in sounds. So I'm not the best guy to ask that. Take You Down. That one was mostly a mix down job. All the sounds in that are really simple too. Yeah, I haven't opened that project file in a really long time. Any more questions? Maybe pertaining to this, maybe pertaining to things in general that maybe I could demonstrate. I'll do the reverse filter FM thing in a moment once we know that everything else is kind of off the table. But I do want to talk about, obviously the tracks that we've been discussing today. What loves do I aim for generally? I don't care, to be completely honest. And I can expand upon that. I'm not trying to fob you off. What I would say is if your piece of music is intended to be a stream piece of music, like, again, actually, I'll compare this one to Dreamland again. Dreamland is supposed to be a track that's more of a streaming, listening at home kind of track, and this one is one that is much more geared towards DJs. This thing was mixed as loud as I could make it without it breaking up and it still sounding dynamic. Whereas Dreamland, I actually wanted it to be correct for the LUFs and everything. So I actually got someone else to master it who's good with those things. So I generally never aim for the LUFs. I just make something sound as good as it can. And I know that you're supposed to aim for a certain, I think it's -7 for Spotify and stuff. And I'm sure that that's the best way to do it. But to my knowledge, it's not going to make the biggest difference. And, I think a big part of a lot of tracks is the limiter sitting on things and making things condense or reduce, like in cooking. So I think, if you want to think about things like if something's really, really loud, maybe turn it down, or if something's really quiet, make sure it's at least the right amount of LUFs for like what they say for streaming services. But at the end of the day, it's not going to make a huge difference. No one's gonna mind. Like there's tracks that I listen to regularly that have that are like from the 70s and are obviously really quiet, and then like it'll shuffle onto a Space Laces tune, and even though they've been equalized, the Space Laces tune still sounds really fucking loud. Like, yeah. Oh, it's minus 14. I knew it had something to do with 7. It's double 7. That's how my brain works. How do I go about making my own drum samples? Okay, so am I producing that you want? Brain always produce, but problems with keeping an idea. What tips do I have I have problems keeping an idea or portraying that in my DAW. That's a really hard one, man. Like that's something I like to compare producing music to speaking a language, in that like eventually you're able to be fluent enough that you can speak the music you hear with your DAW. I personally think that the most fun before you know how to make the thing you want to make, the most fun you can have is following the white rabbit, I guess. And then what I mean by that is that you hear the thing you're making for what it is, not for what you wish it was, and then you follow what it is to its conclusion, as opposed to the thing you've got down, which might be really good, but you're hearing that it's not what you want. And there's a big difference in that in terms of mindset. And like it happens to me too. It's not like everything I do with complete intention and it sounds exactly how I want it to. But you have to be able to listen to what's there and go, oh, this needs this. This doesn't need me to force it to be something else. And fighting that battle is a daily thing for all of us, for sure. But yeah, that's the battle, isn't it? I'm working with Soothe. Do I generally have really high plug-in delay? That's just something that I screw around with. Like I'll maybe export something to audio because I know I need to soothe it, or I know it needs to be soothed. But generally, my computer just seems to run everything great. And when it comes to latency, I'm really used to the way that Logic handles latency. Like there's just weird rules that it has, and I work around them wherever it makes sense. Like you can't put big latency plugins on a bus after a bus, otherwise it freaks out and everything goes out of time. Do I need a hug? No, well, always, but like I'm good. Like that's the fight. Like I've been producing since I was like 12. This is my life. I love it. I love that battle. Like it's what I do. I do it every day. Like, and that's another piece of advice is make something every day. Because like even if it's bad, that's fine. Work out why, because then you've learned something. Learn something every day. That's the best. Well, the specs of my computer, I don't know. It's a MacBook. It's like the MacBook Pro from like a few years back. 3.1 i7, I guess. I don't know much about what that means. It was really expensive at the time, but like I needed to run a live band off it, so. Okay, reverse filter FM, right. Let's quickly do that in here. So what I meant by that, so it's inverse filter FM, I think is the best way to name it. And what I mean by that is, wait, do I have a project file where I did this? It doesn't matter. So I'll do this on Phase Plant real quick because it's a really cool trick. And this is some mad scientist techie stuff. So I'm gonna get a sine wave. Right, so then we're gonna get a wavetable. So basically the opposite of a sine wave is a square wave with no fundamental. So like that's the negative space between like full and the negative space between full and a sine wave is wavetable. Squares. What am I doing? Fundamental square. So if you were to add these two things together, oh no, I clicked the wrong thing. I'm sorry. If you add these two things together, normal square wave. That's important. Note that. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to have this be really loud, and I'm going to duplicate it a few times because it seems to prefer doing this. So this is actually almost like this is going to be an invisible sidechain, like it's basically a sidechain wave, a C wave. So what we're going to do over here is we're going to create another group, and I'll explain all this once it's kind of set up. Oh, I put that in there. Right, I need to have an output. Sorry, put that away. New group. Analog. So we're going to have this over here. We're going to low cut it a little bit. Maybe not actually. No, don't worry. I'm talking silly. We're going to have that and a couple other another harmonics, maybe like a 3. Oh, of course. My bad. I need this to not be outputting. That's why I was confused. And then we're going to have a filter here. So this is... sorry, I kind of went a little catatonic there for a moment. What's going on here is I'm going to be affecting this filter cutoff with this, which is like the stacked up negative space of our sine wave. And what that means is as this sine wave approaches the zero crossings, the low pass filter is going to open up, meaning that all of our high end exists in the zero crossing points and disappears as the sine wave comes up. And it ends up sounding very natural. Why do I do this? Yes. How does it need to actually output? Sideband. This doesn't have an output. I'm being an idiot. Group, that's the wrong one. We want output. So, put some units on these. So, instead of it just being a normal filter, like, let's have a look at this thing. The sine wave's really quiet, so it kind of isn't very pronounced. Let's turn the key up. Let's get rid of the low one, so we're not having any phasing on the low end. That's what we were looking for. So if we look in here, go into that. We can start like enveloping this thing. Envelope. So the reason we do this is basically if we were to limit this sound, you see how it's basically a sine wave just with features. That's good because it's obviously not. It doesn't sound like it at all. Let's do that. Like, how much better does that sound like than a normal thing, right? Can this be achieved in Serum? No. No, it can't be achieved in Serum unless you start using the noise oscillator as a wavetable. But the problem with that is generally Serum's filters aren't designed to do this, so they kind of freak out when you do it. Sometimes it's amazing, and you can get some really, really amazing results out of it, but we don't talk about that. Yeah, you can make a gnarly wavetable pack. I mean, like, it's like... do whatever you want. Like, this is already fun, you know? Yeah. You could even, like, start writing melodies with it, like... and it just fits in, you know? Fun. Fun for everybody. Fun for the whole family. Fun. I'd be happy to drop the stems to Peace of Mind out somewhere. Yeah, that could be cool. What's in What Simple Life folder? Where? Oh, I think that's a drum mix. There's a I won't go into the folder itself. I'll just play the drum mix itself because it's Dan, who was our drummer back then, until quite recently actually, and yeah, he just goes in, and this will be a fun way to finish it. Just a mad old drum solo. Unless anybody's got any like burning questions. Mad. Oh, also, if you ever want to test yourself as a producer, try and get hold of some dry drum mic recordings, like of like a full take, and try and produce that until it sounds correct, because I learned a million things about production just by doing that. And there aren't many people who spend their time on like sequencing electronic music production that also know how to do drum mixes. And once you know how to do drum mixes, it opens this whole other part of your brain that's really important for me anyway. Why'd Dan leave? He didn't leave. We just don't work with him anymore. That's sad times, but necessary times. Why do I use my vocal mic? Where is that? 1 second, I'll grab it. I use a Aston Spirit, which is great. It's way better than the price, which is obviously what you want when it comes to gear. You could also use the Aston Origin, which is the smaller one, and it sounds pretty much the same. It's just a little less bright, and I really like a good bright mic. You tell them, Angus and Tayson. Is there anything I'm currently trying to improve on with production? Well, there's this one thing that's a big kind of like, there's a holy grail in dance music production. I'm just going to get my kick maker out because someone was actually asking about how I make my kicks anyway. What was that? Drums. Yes. Kick maker 2. So just real quick to break this down. This is just a sine wave with 3 different things. One of them is 3 different enveloped LFOs. One of them is going to the master tuning, one is going to the coarse pitch, and the other one is going to the volume. And you can just make kicks with it. So, if you want to. So here's the kick problem. Wait. Oh, we're on minuses. Right, so. Oh, has this got. Yeah. There we go. I knew something was up with that channel. So, here's the holy grail of kicks. The most exciting and hype kicks come from from above, from above 200, and they take a really long time to come through. I'm talking from here. Take it up a little. All that time that it spends above 100 hertz is time before it'll hit you in the chest, because around 100 hertz, 90 hertz, 80 hertz, that's roughly the place where you feel the kick hit you in a club from a big subsystem. Now, if you start your kick around there, it sounds really boring. Let me change the length on this. It sounds more like this, which of course isn't going to hit hard in a club. So if you can find a way to make a kick that punches at 90 or 100 from the sorry, I missed out a piece of information there. If it's sweeping down and it hits you in the chest at 90 or 80 or 100, and it starts at 200 and goes down there, that means that in the club, the point at which it hits you in the chest is later than the on beat, which is craziness. Because that kick drum is like a principal part of the rhythm of the track, but you don't feel it until late. And that's pretty much true for everyone's. My own, everybody's kicks. Even your favorite kick sample probably doesn't. Hip hop's a little different because they just saturate an 80, 90 hertz kind of pulse. But yeah, and in heavier, I guess more produced music, you never get that. So yeah, if you can make a kick that starts at 90 but is also hype, you've made the best kick. You win. That's the challenge. So I think we've gone over. I don't want to be in trouble. I don't know how this works. Make it out to a studio to record. I have a Blue Yeti mic at home for recording. Yes, that would be good enough for sure, because the vocal at the very beginning of a track on my album called OK, which I saw a guy mentioning, the vocal for the beginning of that was actually recorded on this, which is what's it called? I don't even know. I use it for gaming. It's a Shure thing. It was $40, MV5 or something like that. Yeah, man. A mic is a mic. Some of my most popular stuff early on was recorded on a very bad microphone. Yeah, man. Just get it down. Or get a mid-tier mic. It will make a difference for sure. Would layering be the solution? I mean, maybe you could layer low end over your transient. I've tried it a few times. It often just sounds like sounds weird. Any plans to release a sample / preset pack? No plans. No intentions right now. The idea of it just makes me feel bored. I don't enjoy making the presets. I enjoy making the presets custom built for a song. Like I don't like here. You know, if you check my keys folder, it's this big. I don't have a lot. Like they're starting points and they all go off in different directions, and I really prefer tailor making sounds for everything, and so I don't have presets for things, and I don't enjoy just sitting down making a preset for the sake of a preset. I did it the other day. I tried it and I was like, not for me. I do use Splice. I don't follow anywhere else, but like, you know, I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and there's often good samples there for like sounds and stuff. There's also the old BHK. The old BHK packs have amazing kind of like top kicks, like sort of like the dust that you'd put on top of a heavy fundamental. Yeah. I'm sure there's gold hiding in old sample packs. But I really want to find the Fatboy Slim, like when he was in his prime, like doing all the Rockefeller Skank stuff. He did a sample pack, and I really want to find it online, but I can't. I've tried. What were the key changes in making the D&B VIP? Really not many. Just change the kick and snare out, change the tempo. That's really all I did. If I open that project file up, it's basically the same project file, just at a different tempo. Right now, what am I reading? Right now, I'm listening to IQ 48 by Haruki Murakami, which is a really long thing, but yeah. He did, man. He did. It's like it was released on the sample pack was released on CD with a magazine. I've looked for a mirror for it for ages. Just ask him. I can't imagine he has it anymore. It was like released like early 2000s. I'm sure there's some amazing drums in there though. I think the Misuse Psytrance remix is something I'm just going to play in shows for the most part, I believe. Top sample pack that I use the most. Kirk Knight. Quickly show you that one, why not? Doesn't hurt. I love this sample pack. But now I've shown you this, you guys are going to recognize the snare on my new tune. I feel guilt for this, but whatever. Where are you? No. There it is. I use this snare all the time. It's great. It's just loads of like sort of boom bap, sort of like lo-fi hip hoppy kind of hits, and I find that instantly inspiring because I don't like getting really electronic samples in. Like I like to add the electronic stuff by just creating a fundamental with, you know, like a kick maker or something. I would love for people to do remixes of the Killjoy album, but I'm just like, I'm really enjoying looking to the future of the music I'm going to make in the future and stuff. I'm having a great time right now, just making stuff. I started something today that I'm really excited about that I don't think I've told anyone about yet, but you know. I haven't thought about, I have thought about making updated versions of Stan SB songs, but it's just like, I've got other stuff that I'm excited about making. It's like, it makes more sense to just let those things be what they are. You know? And also, it's a lose-lose situation because either I'm re-releasing music or I'm pissing people off by touching what they see as like, you know, an important piece of their history. But yeah, oh no, you didn't just find it. You didn't just find the sample pack. Yeah, I think it is that. Wait, there's people selling it on Amazon? Oh my gosh. Okay, you've just made my day. I need to buy a CD disc tray too. Jeez. Are there any more genres I want to explore? Yeah, all the time. Like, there's loads of ways I want to approach music, but I think I'm gonna have to go because I really need the bathroom, and I've been like, I think we've gone over time, I believe. If that's if I do, I don't want to. I don't want to be in trouble with anybody for not doing my share, but I do really need the bathroom. I'm happy to go into some more synthy stuff, but I need to go briefly. Yeah. Dream collab? Aesop Rock. Not ASAP Rocky. Aesop Rock. Yeah, Aesop Rock. Thank you guys. I really enjoyed doing this. It was good to have some have something a bit more structured and like going into stuff. Yeah, I'm sure I'll catch you guys soon. Stick around, and I'm sure you'll be hearing from someone soon, I guess. Like, yeah. I do stream from time to time, but they're a lot less structured than this. That's kind of me just cobbling sounds together randomly and hoping something sticks whilst people watch. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate it. Oh, I need to change over here so I can stop. There we go. Nice. Yeah, so if anybody has any further questions and things, just feel free to hit me up. Usually the best place is Twitter. But yeah. Cool. I've been Fox Stevenson. You guys have been fun. I really hope you learned something, and I hope I made sense. Yeah. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you.